What's going on? The Toronto Raptors get smoked by the Victor Wembanyama triple double block party and sucks. Sucks. Mama said there would be days like this when you chose to rebuild, and there will be days like this. The team that everyone is very, very excited about tonight, obviously the San Antonio Spurs, yet they've won 11 games. This was their 11th game. Chill. Okay. If there was a depressing part of going to this game tonight, and I do want to share a little bit of that with you guys, we got real close. Check this out. This is the game ending. Victor Wembanyama had a lot of support tonight, a lot of French flags, a lot of Wemby jerseys. Check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final score is San Antonio 122 and Toronto 99. Fans, don't forget the Spurs missed a free throw in the fourth quarter, which means you all.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. The Toronto Raptors obviously get blown out. There's a lot of talk right now about Scottie Barnes needs to do a lot of stuff. He left the court early. Obviously observed Scottie very quickly. There was a lot of good things tonight as well. I mean, you could say, obviously, you don't want to lose to the San Antonio Spurs. Haven't seen Rob clean shaven before. Really? Never? Yeah. My girlfriend insisted that in going to this game that I not look homeless. I also worry about going to Raptor games sometimes because I'm a pretty outspoken personality. So I figured, why not look like yourself? That would help. So, look, a lot of observations from tonight's game. Obviously, Gradey Dick going off. Really happy about that, right? It was just awesome. It was awesome to see. He was very confident. He was attacking. And yeah, Paradise Lost saying, let's talk about Gradey. Absolutely. Absolutely. He was incredible. He had 4 or 5 from 3. Take a look at the box score tonight. You know, yeah, don't adjust. That's 10 blocks. Okay. The paint was closed for business. Victor Wembanyama, he hits 2 for 4 from 3. I tell you, it was a bucket list. It was a bucket list thing for me to see Wemby, in his rookie season. I'm very, very thankful to Vince. Some of you may know him as the music guy for hooking me up with some tickets. And big thanks to Vince's cousin for getting us borderline courtside to go check this out. It was very, very cool. Another channel member who was at the game tonight, big shout outs to Larry Kane. We all watched the destruction of the Toronto Raptors. And if you're someone like me who was hoping that this could potentially turn into a late game, late season rally for a play-in, I feel like a night like this kind of just puts it into perspective, right? Now, not the game that you wanted for BBQ, right? Not good. Emmanuel quickly with 7 points, 1 for 9 from 3, 2 for 12 from the field. Scottie Barnes with 7 points. He had 0 points at the half, right? And if you were hoping for another big storming comeback against the San Antonio Spurs in the second half, I think he left a lot on the table there. He nearly had a triple-double if you want to put a real spin on it. He was 3 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist away from a very soft triple-double. Did have 5 turnovers, and they were particularly egregious. RJ Barrett, 13 points on 6 for 10. He was reasonably efficient, but I tell you, he was not good. Tonight, Gary Trent Jr., all the same. Jakob Poeltl tried as he may to attack Victor Wembanyama. He just was not very effective at doing that. The Toronto Raptors did have some success on the court, and that was with Gradey Dick. And he comes in with 22 minutes. I'd like to see that minute number go up, even though I'm not one of those people who's advocating for him to start. I would like to see his minutes go up a little bit. 18 points. Really solid night from him. I thought Ochai Agbaji brought a pretty decent amount of defense to this team that was otherwise lacking it. We got to see the start of the Mo G era. He had 2 big blocks, and yeah, watched them both. And I joked to Vince, I'm like, we got our mini Wemby. Jalen McDaniels is just as bad in person as he looks like on TV. Kelly Olynyk with a second solid night. Really, really decent night from Kelly Olynyk. Now, it's interesting how much the analytics do track the eye test. I remember last game against the Cavaliers, I came out and said, basically the three guys who had a good game, Scottie, Wemby, Olynyk. Those were the three guys last game who had a positive box plus minus. Every other player had a negative box plus minus. Scottie was the best player on the court. I said it last game. He had a positive 17.4 box plus minus last game. I don't remember the chatter then. But suddenly a game like this really does put into perspective just how far he has to grow. And while a well-adjusted person might say that, yeah, we know that. His trainer came onto this channel and said he's at 15%. So what's 25% going to look like? Maybe it'll be a tough night where he scores 18 points or 17 points instead of 9. Last year's tough nights were 2 points, right? But I get it. People are like, geez, this is not a great team, right? I think Scottie's playing through a lot of pain, man. It's frustrating to watch it in real life, to just watch him, wincing and aching and paining, and to see people, complaining about everything about him. There was a lot to complain about today, right? He wasn't overly assertive. He wasn't looking to shoot very much. He did pass up a lot. He was very passive to begin to start the game, kind of just picking and choosing his spots, even though his team was really struggling. He needed to find a way to get a sure basket. Unfortunately, if the jump shot's not going and you can't bring the defender out of the paint that's blocking 10 shots, you don't have a lot of angles, right? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last time the Raptors faced the Spurs, when the Spurs, were up huge, they had OG. They had Pascal. They had Scottie. And they were still down big to the Spurs. And it took a heroic, huge comeback from Scottie Barnes. It was Pascal Siakam who was missing point-blank layups and getting swatted. It was OG Anunoby who was getting his three-pointer swatted, right? So it's not like you're some great team that just disbanded, and you were on the verge of winning championships and, oh my God, they tore it all away. No, they tore it apart because it wasn't working. And now you say, okay, well, they tore it apart and now this is even worse. Yeah, it's worse. You have younger players. You have cap space. You have cap flexibility. You're not hamstrung. You have draft picks. Those draft picks aren't playing for you right now. The development reps that need to happen haven't happened yet. So yeah, you might be worse than you were 3 months ago. But the whole point is to make it better later. And yeah, you don't want to come out and lose to the San Antonio Spurs at home, especially if you're at all serious about this, play-in thing. But I think tonight the Raptors didn't have it. They missed a ton of shots. My God, I think they shot I think at one point I looked up, they were shooting 25% from three. Yeah, they finished 25.8% from three. That's craziness, right? I mean, you had Gradey Dick shoot 4 for 5. If he doesn't shoot 4 for 5, I'm sorry, you probably you shoot like 12% from three. Craziness. In terms of the San Antonio Spurs, as I mentioned, I don't think the last time they played, they had Devin Vassell. And again, you may look at a team like this, you may say Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Victor Wembanyama, right? Julian Champagny, Jeremy Sohan, you're supposed to beat this team, right? And I'll agree. You should. You should beat this team. I don't think the game plan was necessarily very solid tonight, but I think shooting variance has something to do with it. Why did Emmanuel quickly miss 8 3-pointers tonight? I don't know. Why did Kelly Olynyk miss 3? I mean, Kelly Olynyk is a 43% three-point shooter on the season. He shot 25% tonight. Would him making one more 3 make any difference? No, probably not. But if Emmanuel quickly goes 5 for 9 instead of 1 for 9, and Kelly Olynyk goes 3 for 4, I mean, you might have a game. Sometimes you just miss your shots, and it doesn't help that the Spurs made a ton of their shots, right? They shoot 52%, 53% from the field. You shoot 39%. You're not going to win a game in which that happens, right? Now, obviously, if the paint, you have a lot of players who struggle to score in the paint. Let's just be real, right? RJ Barrett has been much, much better, but historically, he has been a poor paint finisher, right? He's been much better this year. You have Emmanuel Quickly, who struggles. And I think playing against a guy like Victor Wembanyama, it changes your angles. Every single release, you got to think about it. You're watching a guy, it gets in your head a little bit too, you know? Like you're watching a guy swat. And yeah, there's a lot of talk about body language. There's a lot of talk about, Scottie Barnes leaving the court. He left the game with 2 seconds to go. He went right back to the locker room. A lot of people are really upset about that. I got news for you. It's not the first time he's done it. It's not the first time he's done it. I told you last year, Scottie Barnes would never be on the Pistons, right? People always said, well, if Scottie Barnes was on the Pistons, they'd be even worse than with Cade. And I said it, and I've said it 3 times. Scottie Barnes would never be on the Pistons. And I said, if he was on the Pistons, he would probably kill somebody or probably throw a chair through a wall and get himself traded. Scottie Barnes hates losing, and you're watching it right now. He hates losing. He expects to win. And why wouldn't he? He's built his whole identity on winning. Everything has been about winning, right? How many games do you think this guy's lost in his life? Not a lot. He's never been on a team in his life that finished under 500, ever. Not grade school, not high school, nowhere. State championships, second place, playoffs. Last year was a massive disappointment. It was 41-41. Understand the standards that this guy holds himself to are winning standards. Being 19-35 and having, kind of like this notion of like, it's because of you, that's tough. That this whole thing got torn down to build around you and now you're losing, that sucks. Because I'll tell you right now, Scottie would rather be like the 4th option on a championship team than be the 1st option on a lottery team. I'm pretty sure about that. But you know what? So would Magic Johnson. So would Kawhi Leonard. Winners hate losing. So would Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? We have an idea that like winners just like go out and dominate the basketball and take 25 shots. That's how winning is done. No, it's not. There are plenty of losers who just take a lot of shots on bad teams and they don't care. They're laughing at the bench, whatever. I like that my 22-year-old hates losing enough that he's sulking a little bit and he's going to grow through that. He's definitely got to grow. No one is condoning it. No one is excusing it. No one is saying, that he shouldn't be better, that there are times frustrated as he may be, that he just got blocked or he just committed a turnover where, he's hanging his head. He's a little bit slow getting back on defense. He did that 3 times tonight. Yeah, definitely someone needs to talk to him about it. He's not the only one, though. Why does it stick out more when he does it? I don't know. Why is it that after a game in which he scores 24, 10, and 10 and they lose, people are like, oh my God, every time he scores a lot of points, they lose? His ideal role right now, given his skill set, is definitely a second option. That's not to say that's where he's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. But where he is right now with his skill set, where he started this season is exactly where he needed to be. It's playing off of Pascal and OG, attacking defenses. Pascal's got him occupied. Dennis has got him occupied. You realize this guy's lost the 3 of his best teammates, 4 of his best teammates in the last little bit. And he's been replaced with a lot of young players. We wanted this. No one's complaining, right? Gone saying, Rob, were you fine when Siakam left the game early and got suspended for that? You do understand the context of why Siakam left the game early, right? He left the game early because he was benched, not because they lost. That's different. Pascal Siakam has sat on the bench plenty of times while his team has lost. He also did not storm out. He did not storm out and yell at his coach. He did not have a kerfuffle about playing time. He literally left the court with 3 seconds to go. Yeah, I believe that you should shake hands. You know when else he didn't shake hands and kind of just never, ever got called out for it? Philly, game 6. He just left. Everybody stayed. Everybody shook hands, congratulated Philly. He did not. Scottie Barnes hates losing. You know who else hates losing? I hate losing. So I stand by it. I hope that he'll grow, though. I do. I do. I hope that he will grow from it. I hope that he can become gracious. Even though he hates losing, I hope that he can become gracious. You know who else left the court sometimes before congratulating his victor? Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Isaiah Thomas. There is a lot of fucking players in NBA history that have refused to shake hands and just walked off because they were just sad. They were pissed. And look, man, all of this losing, all of this fuel, you better believe me. This dude did not come this far to only come this far. Chill. Just chill. Okay. All of this pain, all of this losing, all of this, vitriol, all of, it doesn't even matter. I mean, if you want to know who a person is, understand how they respond to individual success versus team success. Does he look like he's happy he's an all-star right now? Have you even seen a social media post about it? He just shared other people's posts about it. It feels wrong, probably for him right now, to be celebrating his personal success as his team is struggling. Man, I appreciate that. Don't you? Or were you not raised right? I don't even know who I'm talking to. I mean, I'm talking to the trolls because, I did poke my head in on one of those Twitter spaces, and man, Twitter is a mess tonight. I don't even want to think about what Reddit's like right now. It will come. Nothing that I saw tonight live in person makes me think that Scottie Barnes is going to be anything less than a superstar. But these are growing pains. These are growing pains. Everyone has to go through them. It's always bumpy. It sucks. I mean, look around the league right now. Philadelphia beat Cleveland. Chicago beat Atlanta. Charlotte beat Indiana. Bro. Houston beat New York. You want more? It's the night of upsets, man. Milwaukee beat Denver. Dallas barely beat Washington. Just be real about that. Like, they were down big. Luka was struggling. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from tonight's game. Positive number one, when you play this badly, hopefully some alarm bells go off. This team, since the very, very beginning of the season, when the roster was completely different, when you're starting Dennis Schroeder and OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, this is still a team that came out and slept on the Spurs team. They were down huge at the half. This is still the same team that slept on the Wizards and relied on a late game rally to beat them. This is a team that lost to the Detroit Pistons. This is a team that really, really does not have the maturity to win basketball games. It's not about talent. It's not only about talent. You certainly have plenty of NBA talent. What you lack is that leadership. Hopefully, Scottie will grow into that. The type of leader that gets the group focused and says, this is the Spurs, but we're the Raptors. Who defines the marching orders and the effort that is required on a day-to-day basis from his team. Hard to do when you're 22 years old. LeBron grew into it. Some people do. I'm sure Anthony Edwards can do it. Luka can do it. Scottie Barnes will learn. He has to learn. He has to learn. The next time he's asked about who's the leader of this team, I need him to own it. This is the one thing I will criticize. He can't talk about everybody having a voice. Maybe that's the frustrating part. This is uncomfortable territory for him. Does he strike you as a guy who just walks into the locker room and tells people what to do? Doesn't strike me as that type of person at all. But at some point, if you don't lead, somebody else will lead for you. And it may not be someone that you want to lead. It might be Dennis Schroeder or Fred VanVleet. If you want the leadership, you want this thing built around you, you want to be the number one option, And again, none of these things are for granted that he asked for this. He didn't ask for this. He didn't ask for OG to be traded. He didn't ask for Pascal to be traded. He didn't walk up to management and say, give me the ball or I'm out. He didn't do that. We did that. We wanted that. I wanted that. Fred VanVleet learned how to win. He learned how to lead through years of on-the-job training, 4 years of college, plus 3-4 years on veteran-laden teams. Scottie Barnes is 2.6 years removed from being a college freshman. Chill the hell out. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, let's get some callers here. We got Araf and we got Lane. Araf, you're up first. What's up, man? What's going on?
Disappointing loss, but it is what it is. Good reps for Gradey again. I think he's getting better game by game.
And need I say, how sternly has this channel supported Gradey since the draft?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right after the draft, regardless of how bad he looked, what bad game he had in G League, always said it. Be patient, be patient, be patient. I've never turned on this guy since I got behind him, which is 1 hour after the draft. I have never turned my back on him. And it's for good reason, because I saw something in him and I just knew that he needed to take those reps. So it's the same thing with Scottie. It's not blind faith. But yeah, what did you see tonight?
Obviously, to be honest, I'm kind of not paying attention much to what Scottie's doing because, like you said, he's kind of just hobbling to the finish line of the All-Star game. So these games to me are just kind of meaningless. I'm more waiting to see what he does after the All-Star break, after a bit of rest. And also,
not gonna have much rest.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, it's a couple of days, but I think one of the biggest things right now is I'm not a fan of him playing at the 4. I think we're kind of undersized, so he's playing there, because we don't have any proper players there. But he's, for me, more of a 3 who can kind of go to a 1, and at the 4 he has to like bang a lot more. So I just think it's more pressure and more, more work on his body. So one thing I was kind of disappointed at Masai was, I don't know if you saw reports, but the Pelicans had one of Trey Murphy or Herb Jones might be available because they can't afford to re-sign them both. So I really wanted them to go after Herb Jones because I feel like this team's still missing that 3-and-D guy. If Scottie wants to take more offensive responsibility, then there needs to be a defensive player to kind of share some of their responsibility. So that's currently what my thoughts are right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would consider starting Olynyk, but then you don't have a backup center. It's kind of a weird roster. Could probably consider starting Bruce Brown, but again, Gary going to the bench, maybe not the greatest thing. Could consider starting Gradey. Still keep Scottie at the 4 though, so that's tough, right? Yeah, I don't know. Or you could do the smart thing, which is probably to start Olynyk instead of Jakob and just see what that looks like. Because tonight, I think Olynyk was the better matchup for Wemby.
Don't you think we need kind of like a more like power forward type, like a proper person at that spot? Like, I'm not saying it has to be this type, but like a Grant Williams or someone of that archetype. He doesn't have to be like a superstar, just like, someone who can kind of be natural at that position.
I don't really think of it as power forward, small forward, etc. I think of it more like you need certain skill sets to balance out other skill sets. You need certain deficiencies to be compensated for by other strengths. So what I'm looking at is like a deficit of playmaking in the starting lineup right now, right? Like you might think like Emmanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, that's a lot of playmaking, right? And you're right, it is. But like in a weird way, it also doesn't work because you're constantly small and you don't
Yeah.
have like if Scottie's not shooting well, right? Like if he's splashing like 6, 7 threes like he was earlier in the season, like 3, 4 threes every single game, 3 for 4, 3 for 6. Like if he's doing that, it bends the defense a little bit and moves them up, and that will create driving angles. But if he's not shooting, and Jakob's not shooting, and RJ's not respected very much as a shooter, you really got Emmanuel Quickley and Gary Trent, right? That's tough.
Yeah.
So I think Olynyk in place of Jakob could be good because then you can put Scottie, around the pinch post and then play 4 out with him. And that would really, really ease up some of the like help that comes towards him
Yeah.
from the 5. Because right now the 5 is just able to camp out in the paint and just offer like a second, right? And it's just like it's hard to score from the places on the court that Scottie likes to score in the modern NBA. It's like zone defenses. Like I don't know how much 90s basketball you watched, but it was basically illegal to help defense. Like the help,
Oh, I see.
like you had to commit to a man. So basically in the 90s, you saw a lot of one-on-one.
Yeah.
And if Scottie can go one-on-one right now, like he'd be fine. It's the second defender that's often coming over and just getting into the driving lane enough where his handle isn't tight enough, quick enough, and he's not quick enough to attack. So it's like he needs to be more decisive, but the threat of the shot and the shot is just not falling right now. It's taking it's like his game is like so new to him right now.
Yeah.
Like all of the step backs, the midi post package, the jump shot, the pull-ups, like all that stuff, it's still so new to him that it's almost a miracle that it implemented as quickly as it did, but now it's falling apart just as quickly as it was implemented. And it's like, shoot, like 50 games was good, but like what the fuck's the last, or like 45 games have been good, but the last 10 games have been so bad. And I think a lot of it is like just reps, confidence, the need to get into a lab, health, legs, knees, health. Like I don't know, just a lot of stuff. But yeah,
He also had like a buffer with like OG and like like a vet Pascal, I guess, with a bit of the scoring, but now it's just like him and a bunch of other young guys. So
yeah.
it's like a smaller margin for here.
I mean, but
Uh,
it's like growth, it's going to force growth. It's going to force growth in maybe ways that is a little unpredictable. Maybe, you find out some stuff. You find out a little bit about him. He finds out a little bit about himself. And I'm sure all of this will eventually make him better for sure. Yeah. Any final thoughts, man?
the last thing, this is kind of like a hypothetical, but if they do choose to tank, right, and like I think the expected person that they might draft is Rob Dillingham,
Okay.
or somewhat of that nature, I think. So if that happens, would you be willing to like go quickly to like focus on him because they're kind of like similar players, or would you still keep quickly
Um,
opposed to that?
I mean, they are similar. Do you not think that they could play together? They probably can't.
I just think it's kind of redundant. Like the whole thing with like letting Pascal go, in my opinion, was I feel like they're going to be redundant players in some time because pretty much what Pascal can do, Scottie can do, and he'll be able to do even better as time goes on. So my thought was like quickly, and this guy could probably be very similar players. We'd rather want like a variety of skill sets rather than two guys who can do the same thing. So
I'm not sure they go with Dillingham, man. I don't think like he really fits. I mean, he's a really interesting player for sure. Um, yeah, H2K Sports Inc. saying quickly is a 6-man, not a starter. Again, like it's new for him, patience, right? Like everyone's stepping up a level here. Quickly's a starter. RJ's a second option. He's going from a third option quickly. He's going from a bench backup. Scottie's going from a third, fourth option to a first option. Everyone's being asked to level up, right?
Yeah.
Gradey's being asked to go from Kansas to the NBA. He's doing a great job. He's putting in the work. You know, everyone is putting in work. It's just, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's too soon, and I really don't. I don't envision us keeping that pick, man. I envision us like I think we're really trying to avoid 5, 6, 7, 8. Seems like that range. So, you know, maybe they do end up 8th, right? And then they win, get one of those top four picks, and then they're happy, right? But I think
Yeah.
like they just don't want the 6th pick probably, because maybe like again, these drafts are so unpredictable. There's always somebody who rises up, but it's very rare that the person who rises up rises to like the top 3. You know, it's usually like they rise to 8, 7. You know, Ben Mathurin comes to mind. Dyson Daniels comes to mind. These are guys. Dwayne Wade comes to mind. These are guys. Like Russell Westbrook comes to mind. Actually, there's a lot of guys who've like, but very rarely do they crack the top 3. So what I'm saying is like maybe they've identified 3 players at the very, very top of this draft where they're like, okay, if we pick top 3, top 4, we're good. But 5, 6, we're not seeing necessarily the value that we might be seeing with the 13th, 14th pick next year. And again, it's just about patience. If you think that the 14th pick in 2025 is going to be better than the 6th pick in 2024, why would you tank? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're going to give up a much better player next year. Again, there are plenty of drafts where, like, you know, we've seen it where the weak draft followed by a very strong draft. You just don't want to lose your pick in a really strong draft, is what I'm saying. And, you know, who knows? Maybe 16th is better than 6th in this draft. It's happened before. There's plenty of drafts where I can think of where, like, there's more talent at 16 than there was at the previous draft at 5. You know, it does happen. I'm not saying this draft is a waste. I'm not saying nobody's there, whatever. There's plenty of, you know, college players, whatever, that I think are good, but I'm not seeing stars. I'm seeing role players across the board. A lot of role players. Maybe there's going to be 2 all-stars in this whole draft. And yeah, good luck finding it at 6. Yeah. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for calling him.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, Lane, what up? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, okay, beautiful. My fault. I accidentally had myself muted. Not much. What about you? How was Wemby tonight?
I would have hoped for a Raptor win. I was rooting for a Raptor win.
No, I got you.
But it was really interesting to watch him play basketball. I couldn't enjoy it completely because I'm a Raptor fan. I'm a huge Wembanyama fan too. All I kept thinking of was, motherfuckers, I told these motherfuckers to tank. I was so mad because I was like, man, even a 14% chance of this guy, it's like it's worth killing a season. Easy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I had one of the kids on the baseball team I coach. He had a college visit in New York last week. 3 not last week. I'm sorry, 3-4 days ago, and it's when they were playing the Nets. The Spurs were playing the Nets, and so he got to see Wemby in person. He said it's a freak. It's literally a freak. It's so crazy to watch that guy because it feels like it's video game. Like someone just went into a video game and just made him.
He doesn't feel freakish. He just feels great. Mario P, this is your final warning. Shut up. Stop trolling the chat. I'm just being straight up. Don't ban Mario P. You know, referring to yourself in the third person is the biggest red flag of any person ever. Bye-bye. You're gone. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think he's remarkably coordinated. He is.
Oh, for sure. His handle's so tight. It's so tight for his size, especially inside.
He's all right. No, he was great, and he's such a coordinated athlete. And what I found really awesome about him, I guess, like I feel happy for him too, because he's not like getting trolled or mercilessly like, you know, booed or anything. He got a very loud ovation at Scotiabank. and obviously there was a lot of French people. I was just like, I don't go out that much, so I was like on the subway and I'm listening to like so many people speaking French. I understand French pretty well, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, I'm like, damn, like Toronto's speaking a lot of French lately, huh? And I was like, I just like so stupid. Like I just connected. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm going to the freaking Spurs game. Of course, there's a lot of French people.
Yeah.
You know, it was great. There were a lot of French flags, saw a lot of Wemby jerseys, and you know what? Like, cool thing for him, he actually would turn around and he would like salute to the people who were wearing his jersey and who were holding the French flag, which is like, you know, sometimes you go to the game and you don't see that at all. They don't even acknowledge. But yeah, he took pictures.
Yeah.
He threw his dirty towel into the audience, and probably someone's going to collect $1,000 on that towel. It was great. It was
He
like,
seems
I
like
really
such a
like
humble kid.
him.
Yeah, he seems like such a humble kid. And it is the last thing I'm gonna say on this because I don't want to waste time talking about this, but his development story is crazy because there's videos of him at like 12, 13, 14 years old. And when other kids probably at his age in France are thriving, he looks like a baby giraffe. He's so uncoordinated. He could barely pass the ball. He could barely shoot the ball. But guess what? He developed his ass off and he just got bigger. He got stronger. And look at him now. So that's why I tell because I work with a lot of younger kids, like give lessons to and all that stuff. And when their parents like, yeah, there's this kid in this league and he's already 13 and he's 5'10, 180 pounds, and it's like, wait, I promise you it's coming. Just wait. You know? So I mean it's a super encouraging development story. Um, but the one thing I am kind of weary about
You're gonna say
is a
something
man.
about Scottie Barnes, right?
No. I'm not kicking the dead horse.
Okay.
I'm not
He's
kicking
a
the dead
dead
horse.
horse. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it, it's worn out at this point. He's a 22-year-old kid. The only thing I'm concerned about is his body language, but it's gonna get better. Someone's gonna chew his ass, and he's gonna be okay. It's what happens. Um, but the only thing I am weary about is the Emmanuel quickly struggles, and I get it's a new position, but and that's not why I'm weary. Why I'm weary is because there's going to be a team that strikes out in free agency and is going to have a lot of cap space, and everybody needs a player like Emmanuel quickly on their roster. So if they throw him 26, 27 million, you know, trying to take a flyer on him, would the Raptors be inclined to match that if he keeps this up through the rest of the season?
Hell yes.
I think so
They
too.
made a very, very calculated gamble with him, and they do not think that he is a finished product. He's got a lot of development reps yet. And just as I preached with Gradey, just as I preached with Scottie last year, I'll continue to preach with Emmanuel quickly as well. People who think that he is, you know, anything close to a finished product need to chill. He is proven time and time again that he is a worker, that he works hard. He has a very interesting skills package, which again, he's being asked to do things without the assistance now, and he's failing hard. And there's no, you know, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's been worse as a Raptor than he was as a Knick. RJ, on the other hand, has been much better as a Raptor than he's been as a Knick. Go figure. But RJ Barrett is like not being asked to do something drastically different than what he's done. In fact, he's being put in a more optimal position. And if Emmanuel quickly was coming off your bench and just doing what he was doing with the Knicks, and you were starting Bruce Brown at point guard, and IQ can just come and pick on second unit guards, I think he'd be doing fine. But this is not the role that he was brought here to be. He was brought here to play off of Scottie, to, you know, and we're not really seeing a lot of. And I think it's worth noting, like, you know, when Darko says like this is a development year, people just really expect that development to very often result in winning, especially when you're going up against a team that's this bad. But what they don't realize, and I think, you know, they don't realize it because that's just not something that they've been witness to in Raptorland for so long. A proper, you know, rebuild, proper development is that you will deliberately put players outside of their comfort zone in order to develop them. That you would effectively choose to play man, even though zone would be effective. You would choose to start a certain player or play a certain combination of players that would deliberately force another player to be out of position or maybe have a harder time scoring. And all of these things, of course, seem counterintuitive. Why would you ever want to put someone in a position to fail, right?
Right.
But you put them in positions to fail so that you have the intel and data on what they can and can't do.
For sure.
This would be like running Jeremy Sohan at point guard. It's a great example. Or forcing, Jakob Poeltl to shoot mid-range jumpers. Like, I mean, he's not shooting mid-range jumpers, but like, I mean, something like that could be, considered
He might as well at this
like
point.
he really might as well. It's like he can make free
He
throws,
might
he can
as
make
well.
jumpers. Like, yeah, I don't know what this mental hitch is, or Jakob Poeltl has never taken a jump shot. I don't think he's taken a single jumper as a Raptor. Everything is floater, layup. That's it. Floater,
Next
layup,
time-
dunk. There's no jumpers.
Next time he's wide open on the top of the key, I just need him to pull it. Like, I feel like if he shoots it, they'll at least somewhat come up, because tonight Wembanyama was giving him the ultimate disrespect. He was pretty much in the restricted area when Jakob had the ball at the top of the key. It's like, just pull it, dude. Please just pull it, because best case scenario, it's probably a long rebound and we can create a chaos bucket out of it. I mean, worst case scenario, you miss it. And everyone else was doing a whole lot of missing tonight. So, especially the newest pickup, Ochai. I am not too hot on that guy.
Interesting. I think this is the night. Like, I'm going to be very calm about this. Mark Anderson, you're done. Welcome to our ban list. You have lost the privilege of. You're just so insufferably annoying. And I think in maybe a winning year, maybe your trolling was okay. But in a losing year where people are like trying to just not have to suffer through this, the idea that I'm trying to empathize with the chat. Like, if I was in a chat and I had to watch your ridiculous takes, I think I would leave that chat. So goodbye, Mark Anderson. It's been real. Okay. I've been thinking about it for like at least 2 months, but he's called in, but fuck it, man. Okay. Ochai Agbaji, what do you not like about him?
I don't feel like he's a finished product. Like, it's going to sound so cliche as a Raptors fan.
How many 23-year-olds are finished product?
No, facts, but it feels like he's 2 years away from being 2 years away.
Oh,
right?
Come
like,
on now.
I don't even mean finished.
Bro.
I mean,
no.
in the sense of like, what part of his game is redeemable enough to have him on the court right now, or say
point of attack defense,
he corner
3-point shooting. Bro, he shot 45% from three in the corners. Like, come on. This is like a legit skill.
I've watched him at Utah. Obviously, I watched him at Utah. I obviously watched him at Kansas, and he felt like a Frank Mason to me at Kansas. And I was not high on him at Utah at all either. He has the potential. He does. I just don't understand. I guess what I can't get over is the mental loop of giving up that pick, even though it was late. It's still an asset, right? That you can move in the draft. You can move in a potential Bruce Brown trade. It's for an upgrade. It's still an asset that you can give, because even though you don't value it, doesn't mean other front offices don't value it.
I think there's like some thinking that if you have 3 to 4 picks, if you end up with 3 to 4 picks in this draft, right, your actual negotiation power goes down because everyone knows you're not picking them. So you would actually lessen the aggregate offer that you would get for one of those picks, because everyone and their mother knows you're not picking 4 players. You're not bringing 4 rookies in, right? So it helps in a weird way. If they could have taken that 2024 pick and transferred it into a 2025 pick, I think they would have done it. No questions asked.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they probably, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure if they got an offer for that OKC pick plus the Detroit second round pick, and somebody said, we'll give you a lottery protected 2025 pick, and you had some good inclination that it was going to be in the teens, they would have traded both picks to get that 2025 pick.
Heartbeat.
Easy. So the issue here is you overloaded in the 2024 draft thinking maybe, right? Like, You have this convertible asset. Maybe it gives you some flexibility at the trade deadline. Maybe if things go really, really well with this, IQ plus Siakam plus RJ plus Scottie thing, and it didn't. But if things went really well, then you could have converted, some of those assets. I mean, granted, you trade Siakam on and whatever. So, it allows you to go both ways is basically what I'm saying. But unfortunately, they weren't able to milk a 2025 pick. They got a 2026, they got a 2024, they got another 2024, and then from the Knicks, they didn't get a 2025. They also got a 2024. So now with the Raptors themselves potentially, on the precipice of, getting that Spurs pick back, maybe, who knows, right? You could end up in a situation where you had the 4th, 5th pick, right, from the Spurs / you, plus 17, 18 from Indiana, or maybe 19 from Indiana, which is great. You can use those 2 picks, but now the actual value of 28 and 31 is like completely diminished because everyone knows there's no way in hell you're picking both. Right. So I think like maybe they looked at it and said, okay, what is going to be the value on draft night of that pick? Is there some, crazy chance that someone is going to offer us a 2025 draft pick for that? Probably not. Maybe you would get like a couple of seconds, a couple of future seconds. So I guess the question is Ochai Agbaji. There's also the other thing where if you do believe in Ochai, which I do, for the record, I do. I like him. If you believe in him, getting him now as opposed to getting the draft pick 3-4 months from now, if you believe in your development staff, you believe in Jama and Darko, this might actually help you.
It's not even about making the pick at the draft for me. It's more or less a movable asset along with the Bruce Brown contract, right? Because that could be the difference between getting like not saying we would get.
What if Ochai develops? Is he not a movable asset?
You would hope he would develop.
If he develops into a 3-and-D athletic transition wing, right? Like which is at least the theory. You got to think about the upside. You got to think about what are you trying to do, not like what's the worst that can happen. Because the worst thing that can happen is he's basically garbage. Like he's every bit as bad for you as he was in Utah. And again, that could happen. Utah had a great offense. Will Hardy is an awesome coach. They had good playmakers. And if you don't succeed there, it's not like New York where it's like some, archaic half-court offense. You're like, oh, well, let's see what juice, you can get out of this. No, there was a pretty decent offense. It was pretty spaced out. So you could say maybe there's a personnel fit. Maybe, they have enough guard depth and young players coming up. Bryce Sensabaugh, who you like very much. Keontae George. They have so many, right? So they could choose to do that, right? They also had there's no guarantee that they wanted to move off of him. They needed to move off of some salary because they want to max out Lauri Markkanen, right? So they're also looking at their cap flexibility and they're saying, who's going to cost more, 28th overall pick in 2024, or this guy who's a 14th overall pick who's going to be extension eligible in one summer when Lauri Markkanen's deal kicks in. So they're also clearing up some cap space off their books. This actually gives me Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr. on a much, much, much lower level. Vibes.
Don't even say that. You're going to give me PTSD.
Why?
Man, oh my gosh. That trade in hindsight's crazy. In hindsight. At the time, it was probably the right move. But in hindsight, can we not agree how insane that trade was? Like years later. Okay, so
you don't think Norman Powell's a better player?
I think Norman Powell's a much better player.
Exactly.
So yeah, well, what I'm saying is Gary at his best contract value wise, which I'm not saying he deserves this, is going to get it, but is 18 to 20 million at his best. Is that worth what Norman is at his best contract wise? No. So you traded the better asset for the guy that at his best you're going to have to pay the same.
But see, here's the thing. Variables, right? You think in theory, like again, I always say in theory, what did the Raptors project and what actually happened? What did they
Right.
project with OG? I think they projected him to be like a plus version of the version he is on the Knicks right now, which is basically like a fringe all-star. What did they expect from Pascal Siakam? I think in 2019, when they held him out of that trade for Russell Westbrook and Paul George, they probably expected him to be a first-team All-NBA guy. Now you can say, at what point does it matter that you're always wrong?
Right.
Right?
Which could be my next.
Exactly. So, like, you thought that Jakob Poeltl was the finishing piece on a playoff puzzle, and then you get bounced in the play-in. You were wrong. You thought this, 2024 draft is terrible, and if it turns out to be good, you were wrong. You thought that 28th overall pick from the OKC Thunder is going to yield absolutely net negative, absolutely crap value, and are you on the precipice of potentially missing out with your 31st, 32nd pick on the best player in this draft? And years from now, we're going to look and you traded Ochai, you traded that pick that you would have easily used for this very Raptors-y prospect, and you traded it for Ochai Agbaji. Were you wrong again? You've chosen to build around Scottie Barnes. If he doesn't become a superstar, you were wrong. So again, wrong. How many times can you be wrong before you get fired? Usually people can't be wrong too often before they get fired, even when they win a championship. However, it is worth asking, is it reasonable to believe what you believed at the time that you believed it? I think I can see the rationale for all of these things, including Gradey Dick. When you think about Gradey Dick and you think about Darko Rajakovic, you think about what they're trying to build here. It fits. It fits. Think about Precious Achua and Christian Koloko in terms of what they were trying to build back then. It fits. And, how does what they were trying to build map up to what the Raptors, where the league is going? I think it matched. Consider like Brian Colangelo is a great example of a guy who was way too wrong too often, but he was early. Think about the players that he really lost the fans on. Andrea Bargnani, Hedo Turkoglu, right? Those are the two guys that he went to bat for with the first overall pick and a huge free agent signing. And I mean, those are not his only mistakes, but those are like the big ones because he did draft DeMar DeRozan. People forget that. He traded a first-round pick for Kyle Lowry. Those are the building blocks of your championship season, right? Yeah. He also drafted Jonas Valanciunas. So he basically got a lot of shit right. People do not let you forget the two things he got wrong, though. But I will say this. Was he right in theory that Andrea Bargnani, the theory of Bargnani was better than anything in that draft? The theory of Hedo was better than anything in that. And it's just sometimes you're just wrong. The theory of Jorge Garbajosa was a great idea. He busts his fucking leg and he misses a year. Not something you could have predicted. You draft Len Bias in the 1986 draft. He dies of an overdose literally the same night. You were right, but he died. So you were wrong. But it's like, could you defend the pick? Yes. You know what I mean? So it's like, but the Rafael Araujo thing in 2004, I could never understand it in a million years. I heard the rationale from it. I heard Rob Babcock talk about it. I heard Jack McCloskey talk about it. Couldn't get behind it. So to me, the results will vary. Sometimes you go on a cold streak and you're wrong 4 times in a row, and it does happen. You're wrong for a whole year straight before you're right for 5 years straight. You know what I mean? The Raptors, they bet on a lot of players. Their philosophy on who they bet has not changed.
Yeah.
Very much. Norman Powell was was drafted using the same metrics, using the same analytic tools, using the same brain trust for the most part. Brain trust has changed a little bit as the decision to trade him for Gary Trent. It's the same theory. Like Norman Powell came to you because you traded Gravis Vasquez for a second-round pick that became Norman Powell. Gravis Vasquez was better than Norman Powell. Norman Powell became way better than Gravis Vasquez. So you were right. Gravis Vasquez came to you because of Rudy Gay. So it's like the Rudy Gay turns to Gravis Vasquez, turns plus stuff, turns to Norman Powell, turns to Gary Trent. At some point, your luck runs out and you're just wrong. And Gary Trent did not turn into a better player than Norman Powell.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
And if you could change 2 things about him, he would be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and very, very last thing. I would love. I've come around on Darko in the past few weeks a little bit, which is funny because the more we've been losing, the more I've came around on him. Um, I need Pat Delaney to be gone tomorrow. I need that man to be gone tomorrow. We've given up 120 plus points 15 times since the new year. That is insane as a defensive coordinator. I don't care what you have on your roster, you have NBA talent. Giving up that many points in an NBA game is that many times is so unexcusable. And it's not even like this dude has a track record of being a successful assistant coach or a successful defensive coordinator. He worked in Charlotte and Washington before this.
Yep.
He needs to be gone tomorrow. And I think he doesn't want to. He wants to touch defense, but he doesn't want to sit there and preach defensive philosophy. That's what he needs a great defensive coordinator for. We don't have one. So where Darko's head wants to be is not where his head is right now, because we're giving up 127, 128 points a game and only scoring 96 to 99 because he can't put his focus on the offense because we have a lackluster defensive coordinator that his schemes are just beyond me. Like, how am I sitting here as a kid seeing this, but he can't?
Yeah, he's bad. I was not thrilled when we hired him, but you know, I gotta be honest, their entire coaching staff needs a massive, massive overhaul.
Oh, a massive facelift. Other than Jama, yes.
It's basically an overhaul. Like you need veteran voices. You need possibly some former head coaches on that roster.
Guys who disagree with you too. I feel like he has too many yes men around him. I feel like the team has too many. Yeah, and I feel like the team has too many yes men around him. When someone says something stupid, does something stupid on the court in practice, we need somebody to rip them. I feel like we have too many yes men. I feel like we have too many babysitters, right? Compared to culture builders.
Here's the thing, though. Culture is built in waves. You don't there's a way to do it, right? And again, I'm having to remind myself to be patient as well, right? When you try to, this is a systemic problem. Selfishness, lack of accountability, lack of defensive, buy-in. This has been going downhill since last year, man.
Yeah,
really, it has been. This is a problem that started with Nick Nurse and it has continued on.
Yep.
Now,
and the Nurse's issue, he had too many yes men on his staff. Way too many yes men.
I don't necessarily think that was the case with Nick Nurse. I think he had a lot of people who had their eye on the next opportunity. Rico, he did have a couple of yes men on his staff for sure. Yeah. Again, you cannot build culture overnight. It has to be done brick by brick. And that is a very frustrating part, but it is true. It has always been true. Greg Popovich did not make the Spurs a contender overnight. The first year was a lot of losing. This year is a lot of losing. This is like bookending his entire career in San Antonio right now, because his first year when he coached them right to the bottom and not coached to win. And it was about sort of weeding out certain guys, finding out who guys are in certain situations. You gotta start somewhere. And yeah, there's a theory that you could have brought in, Coach Bud, replace Nick Nurse. I mean, granted, I don't think Bud wanted to coach this year. Maybe you could have brought in Doc Rivers or something, got people motivated. I know, but I mean, like the recycling carousel, the Frank Vogels, whatever. And, Frank Vogel's a great defensive coach. He's always been a great defensive coach. He's coached great defenses pretty much his whole, NBA career. Those Indiana teams were impeccable. But in order to play great defense, you need great defenders. Is Emmanuel Quickly a great defender? No. Is RJ Barrett a great defender? No. Is Gary Trent a great defender? No. You don't have great defenders. The fuck do you want to play defense for? You don't have OG Anunoby. You got Scottie Barnes burning his ass out. You got Jakob Poeltl, who can barely stay on the floor offensively because he doesn't provide spacing. Yeah, you got some competent defenders, but you don't have great defensive personnel right now. You just don't. So anything Pat Delaney is going to preach is just going to be a Band-Aid solution. So you might as well take this time to legitimately just work on individual man-to-man defense. Literally, 100%, just like 100%. Gary Trent Jr., get in front of your fucking guy and guard him and then do your best. And it's not going to be overly advanced because you're not trying to win. You're trying to develop. And you can't aim in two places at once. See, that's what Nick Nurse tried to do last year. Tried to win, but also tried to get guys paid. You can't have two priorities. One priority. Priority right now is development. That's it. Bar none. That's it. That's the only thing. Chris Boucher is not going to play. He would help your defense way more than a lot of guys would. But he's not playing.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's inexcusable giving up that many points that many times, though. I mean, even early in the season, it's not even like a recent issue. Like early in the season when you had OG, you had Pascal, who, even though Pascal has lapses in his defense, he's still an above average. I think he's like 87th percentile as a defender in the NBA.
He's not even close.
What's he at now? It might be a little bit low.
62nd to 64th.
Okay, still. He's still a competent defender in the NBA, and our defense was still massively lacking.
Yeah, relative to RJ Barrett, he is a much better defender than RJ Barrett. Yes, Pascal Siakam's a better defender than RJ Barrett. OG Anunoby's better than every single player on your team defensively. That being said, was your defense great with those guys? No, it wasn't. It was better.
It wasn't great with Pat Delaney. It was great last year with Nick Nurse. And the staff that they had in place last year. It was great 2 years ago. So what changed?
But the offense was crap. Last year, the offense was crap.
The offense was crap. But could you make the argument that actually, I don't even know if I want to make that argument, so never mind. Yeah, I was about to play devil's advocate. I was about to say, do you think that Nick Nurse, if he had the team that Darko had been given post OG trade, not before the Siakam trade, but post OG trade, do you think he could have made it work with his staff more than Darko and his staff have?
No. I think, part of getting guys, you have to consider how much better has Gradey gotten throughout the year. It's really seismic leaps that he's taking right now, right? Yeah. Him over the last 6-7 games. I mean, bro, the guy is shooting almost 50% from three. It's crazy. And
he might play himself in all rookie. I hope he does.
I hope he does too. I hope he plays himself into second team all rookie. I doubt he will though. I just be real with you. I doubt it. But even if he can just I don't even care about that stuff right now. I just care that this guy's getting better and that this is the proof of concept you need. Jonte Porter, Gradey Dick. You need these small little wins, along the way, because these are the small little wins that, you don't know. Gradey comes into next year, he could be an 18-point per game scorer. It's happened before with a shooter this big.
That'd be crazy.
Seeing him live, insanity, man. I tell you, insanity. He is standing next to a guy that I know to be 6'6", and he is just bigger than him. Flat out bigger than him. Decidedly bigger than him. He does not look okay, maybe standing next to Victor Wembanyama, he looks like TJ McConnell. But seriously, he's a legit 6'8", 6'8 and a half. And he's coordinated. Really coordinated.
That reverse layup last game showed us.
Yeah, the reverse layup last game, and just some of the transition assertiveness, the shiftiness and the handle is starting to come around now. He's just really pulling it together. And you just ask yourself, he and Scottie are going to be a great two-man. They're going to be great.
He's such a vibes guy too. You love it. He's such a vibes guy.
Saw their Super Bowl thing?
Scottie wanted to flip him off so bad.
Oh
His
yeah, he was
recording.
clearly into the 49ers game. I watched my first football game.
I know, that's why I said. I said, look at you. Both
Yeah,
ways.
that was awesome. I was very, very happy to see Patrick Mahomes win. This Patrick Mahomes guy, do people know how good he is? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't worry. He's awesome, man. He was
He
great.
is.
And you know what's funny? The 49ers were favored to win decidedly. And right when I think they went up 10-0 or 10-3. And
Yeah,
I was like telling my girlfriend, I was just like, I have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to win. And she's just like, it's not looking good. And I was like, yeah, it's 10-3. But look at them. They look composed. And I
Mahomes
had
is so
no
great.
idea about football. I had not watched a football game. I literally had to refresh football rules because I didn't play football either. I played rugby. So I was just like, damn, this is cool. So yeah, and she kept saying like, this Purdy guy, he seems like a lot more calm than this Mahomes guy. And I was just like, nah, he's rattled inside. Like, I don't know. That was interesting.
This is the worst team. I know this is a basketball channel, so I'm just gonna make this quick. This is the worst team Mahomes has ever had by far. And the fact that he was still able to win a Super Bowl with them is crazy. And the other cool thing, because I know you're not so much of a football fan, so I don't know if you know this about Brock Purdy.
Literally just told you I watched my first game like ever.
So he's Mr. Irrelevant. And what that means is he was the very last pick in the draft. And before him, the most successful Mr. Irrelevant went to one
Tom
Pro
Brady.
Bowl. No. He went to one Pro Bowl as a special teams player. That's it. He did kick off at the Pro Bowl. That was
wait, hold on. He was the last pick in the first round, or
he was the last pick ever in the draft. He was the 7th round, last pick.
What round was Tom Brady? Sixth
round.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So Brock Purdy, and like I said, before Brock Purdy, the most successful Mr. Irrelevant was a Pro Bowler on special teams for the New York Giants back in like the 70s. So like, usually Mr. Irrelevant is like cut your first or second season in the NFL, dude. You're on training camp rosters the rest of your career. So the fact that this guy in his second year
is like the 10th best quarterback in the NFL is pretty
insane. And he's a small freaking white kid. He's like 6 foot, if that, 210, 215 pounds. Like, he's not projectable at all either. Doesn't have the strongest arm, doesn't make the fastest reads, isn't the fastest, and he's doing what he's doing now. It's just tenacity. It's dog mentality.
I mean, Mahomes wasn't exactly projected to go like, he wasn't like a top pick. He was like anywhere from second round, first round pick. And then he goes, 10th, 11th overall?
Yeah, and he got traded up for it. So what was crazy about him is he went to Texas Tech and he put up huge stats at Texas Tech. But Texas Tech runs what they call an air raid offense. So like, you could throw me in that offense and I would put up those kind of stats, right? Just because that's what they go for. It's like, it's a bunch of like, there's no running the football. It's just throwing Hail Marys. We're going to go 4 wide, spread everyone out. So no one took him serious coming out because every quarterback puts up good stats at Texas Tech. Plus his team sucked. Like, they routinely lost 5-6 games a year. And then he gets drafted and he sits behind Alex Smith for a year and he plays the next year and it's like, holy shit, where'd this guy come from? Like, it was literally like, it's like, if I can compare it to something, it's like Jarris Walker for the Pacers right now. If next year he's the play and becomes a top 5 player in the league.
Is he a top 5 player though? I don't
Who,
think
Patrick Mahomes?
No, Purdy. Oh, you're talking about Mahomes.
Yeah. I'm talking about Mahomes.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah. It would be like
totally different.
Yeah, because Mahomes sat behind somebody for a year, was a guy that got traded up for, but like you said, didn't know where he was going to go. It would be like NBA equivalent to Jarris Walker, not barely playing this year, and then next year being like a top 5 player in the league, which is so crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is. But, it's like, that's the thing with young players. Like, we're all talking about like Scottie's growth, Wemby's growth, whatever. You don't know how quickly this could happen because in all cases of Wemby, Scottie, Chet, Shea, Luka, you're dealing with you're dealing with anomalies. You're not dealing with the Ochai Agbaji's of the world. Honestly, even Ochai Agbaji, like literally any player under the age of 25, I believe possesses the potential of 2X. which is that they can become 2 times better in an off season. I feel like after 25, the 2x potential goes down to like 1.2x, you know, like you can still get better. It's just, I'm not expecting like some sort of crazy jump, you know,
Right.
like unforeseen where like a total non-shooter goes to a shooter.
Unless your name's Kyle Lowry, of course.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks a lot for calling in, Lane. Appreciate it. And
sir.
yeah, like I appreciate the fact that like you're talking about football and I actually understand what the fuck you're saying. It's great.
Dude, it's great. You should watch it next year. Just
I
as a Cleveland Browns fan.
will make it a yearly tradition. I usually skipped out on the Super Bowl because I thought it was a yuppie tradition. And you know, even growing up in the States, I don't know. Like my girlfriend was like asking me, she's like, didn't you watch football? You grew up in the United States. I was like, bro, I grew up in the inner cities. All I watched was basketball. No, what did she ask me about? She asked me about something else. Was it golf? I was like, bro, like how many kids in the inner city you hear watching and playing golf? Like I don't watching golf, but yeah, like I wasn't into football. I might have watched like one football game, maybe at a Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. But I wasn't paying attention, is what I'm saying. Like I've never actively watched a football game. It might have been on, but I'm like, okay, who scored that? Tom Brady, great, boom. But this Mahomes kid is great.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
saying kid, he's 28, but yeah,
football's like crack. You're gonna get into it fast. My only thing is, do not make the same mistake I did. Do not be a Cleveland Browns fan. Any other of the 29 teams, fine. Do not be a Browns fan.
Wait, hold on, 31 teams.
Is there 32? There is 32, so 31 teams.
Oh, Pensari Basketball owns NFL fan.
You do. I forgot we had 8 divisions.
I think you have forgotten that, like, as a extremely well-researched person, that I would not come on and talk about football without doing like a crazy amount of research into football. I became like very obsessed about football for like the last 48 hours, basically leading into the Super Bowl and then outside the Super Bowl. It was just a really cool diversion away from basketball. It was cool, but I mean, I see so many things on the football field that remind me of basketball that I was just like, oh, this is a great way to learn more about basketball through football. So yeah, everything's still about basketball, but yeah. Anyways, great conversation as always. Talk to you later, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night. All right, we will get to Little John after we get to the post-game availability. Okay.
The team's defense was very off tonight, and there might have been a lack of intensity. Did you feel that from your guys?
That was lack of effort, that was lack of intensity, that was lack of focus. All of that from the start of the game. Way too many turnovers that led to easy points and easy scores from the start of the game. They ended up scoring 32 points out of now our 19 turnovers, and that was something that was the game in a nutshell. You know, you can miss shots, you can have a off night with shooting, but your effort and your defense and rebounding, that has to be, and playing with pride, that has to be there every night.
I think Wembanyama might have got in their heads a little bit, the way he's protecting the rim. It got them out of their comfort zone a little bit. What do you think? What do you think of his performance?
Yes, early block shots just changed our attacking the paint. We were hesitant to attack. We did not shoot the ball particularly well tonight either, and it just like one thing trickled the next thing. And Wembanyama is the player who's going to play in this league for the next 15 years. So we need to figure out how to attack and how to play against him. And definitely a player who is unique with his size and shot blocking ability. So we got to do much better job of figuring out how to play against that.
How do you judge this game from Scottie Barnes?
I thought that he blended in the performance of the whole team, and that was not the standard that we expect.
He was shown on the broadcast going back to the locker with like 10 seconds left. Would you chalk that up to frustration or maybe a potential learning opportunity for a young player that's supposed to show some more leadership?
It is definitely a learning opportunity for all the players on the team, from young guys to all the vets. And this is not the performance that we want to have. This not competitive spirit that we want to have. So everybody's got to look in the mirror and figure out what we need to do. We need to be in our shoes. We cannot be anywhere else. And tomorrow is a practice. We have a game against Indiana, and we gotta take care of business. We cannot be anywhere else but being our shoes and taking care of business today.
Gradey actually led your team in scoring. I know you were disappointed in the effort overall, but what did you see from Gradey tonight?
I thought that offensively he shot the ball well. He was able to get good shots at the three-point line. Defensively, he was part of the whole team. Communication, allowing them to roll easy, to score easy in the paint. All of that was on the whole team tonight.
How would you say, like, what's the role for Chris Boucher on this team, and how is he handling, I guess, these DNPs right now?
He is a veteran player who's been around the league for a long time. He needs to stay ready, continue practicing, and staying in best shape possible. And when his numbers are called, be ready to compete and play, help team.
Gradey, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it. Obviously a frustrating game, but you're in your rookie season. You're going to be learning no matter what, win or lose. What are your takeaways from tonight's game?
I feel like the most important, advice and a lot of info that I get from the vets, when I first got here was, how there's going to be so many ups and downs, throughout the whole season, and to obviously enjoy the ups, but learn from the downs in a way. So this is definitely a down, the way that we, came out and played, but at the same time, it's a learning experience, obviously for me the most. I'm coming in as a new guy, but something that we just need to correct for next time.
You did lead the team in scoring, which is, I think, something to build on. And saying, I think it's 5 3-pointers. What did you like about your game tonight?
I think, the way I try to play is just playing the right way. Is what I, want to be known as. And when the ball comes my way and I have an open shot, I'm going to take it. And I think my confidence just comes from the work that I, prepared for, leading up to games. And the team makes it so much easier when you got guys that move the ball as we do and that are unselfish. And, if I'm going to get it, they know that they're going to get it right back. So it's an unselfish mindset that we got to have, and we do have.
Vets always talk about, flushing a game like this, forget about it by tomorrow. Do you have a specific way that you do that?
Personally, I think it's just, I guess it kind of goes with shooting, keeping that short-term memory is, whatever shot you make or miss, you're going on to the next possession. You don't really have time to think about what just happened. And it's kind of the same way as with the schedule of an NBA season. That I had to learn, compared to college where, you win or lose a game in college, you got the whole week to kind of process that. But NBA, you're moving on to the next one. Like we have a day, where we don't play tomorrow. So that's, another day to get better, another day to, we do get a little time to, process this and figure out what we did wrong, what we did right, and, help that translate to the game on Wednesday.
And just to be specific, is there like an album that you listen to, or like something really specific like that you use to just like block it out?
I have music on 24/7, so it's just be anything. But I think I'm excited as my brother's in town, so family's up here every once in a while, but not all the time. So it's good to have my brother here and where I can play video games with him, just talk to him, watch movies with him, and just be with my brother. So it's great.
Nice. What are you listening to right now?
Music?
Yeah.
A lot of Rod Wave. Just some like nap music type stuff, a little bit. Just car rides or something like that.
Coach Rajakovic asked, or was expressing frustration about the focus and effort. I'm sure he expressed that to you and your teammates as well. How can you combat that? And obviously a big game against the Pacers on Wednesday.
Just coming out ready to go, from the get-go. And the one thing that, hats off to the Spurs, what they did, they're active the whole game. And, when you come out with that energy, it's hard to, play against if you don't, equal that. So, if we can be the guys that go out there and just be active, move the ball, move it unselfishly, like we have been on offense, but on the defensive end, just being way more active and stuff like that, that creates different outlets to score and get stops. So just being active.
And one last one for me. Obviously, you're going to be in the league against Wemby for probably your whole careers. What's it like going up against him?
Special player, for sure, a unicorn. you don't see guys that size that can do what he does, and his versatility. So special dude for sure, and just a great dude off the court.
Thanks for watching the Toronto Raptors YouTube.
Lil John, what's going on?
Hey, I have to go to sleep soon, so I just wanted to say, first of all, I can go a lot of places with this because that was a pretty frustrating game. First of all, I would like to say that trade, any asset, potential pick that the Raptors could have had, if you're gonna trade a, I don't like that trade with OKC Houston. The worst of that pick for Ochai Agbaji.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a good idea. Especially, I might be overreacting after a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather have a 19-year-old with. I know this isn't the best draft. I'd rather have that than Kelly and Ochai. I'd just rather have that. Yes, I might be overreacting after watching two, 30-point ass whoopings, but you can't blame me for that. So that's my first point. Second point is, I think it's like a rite of passage for superstar all-time, players like Victor Wembanyama, LeBron, Kobe, to absolutely murder the Raptors. Would you agree with that? Because I think Kobe's 81, LeBron's
56.
destruction, LeBron's destruction of the Raptors the past 20 years, and that Wembanyama might have had the best defensive game in since Elijah Wan.
Nah, I don't know about that. You're playing a team that is helplessly bad at finishing in the paint. A team that has struggled routinely to finish their layups. You have guys like Gary Trent Jr., Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, who are very limited in that regard. And yeah, you racked up a lot of blocks. Congratulations. It's a very impressive thing.
He was dominant.
Yeah, he shut down the paint. And I think if the Raptors shooters could get going a little bit, if you could have put Kelly Olynyk in there to sort of space him out a little bit. I mean, he also had 7 turnovers. Does anyone talk about that? He almost had a quadruple-double. Here's the funny thing. I'm a very big Wemby fan. I've watched him for a long time. Was very, very much a proponent for tanking last year because of him. It was because of him. It wasn't because of anybody else. There were a lot of consolation prizes, but he was the prize, and he was 10 times better than whatever consolation prize you could have gotten, including Gradey, including Scoot, including Brandon Miller, including Asar Thompson, including Amen Thompson, including Jarris Walker, including all those guys. I think there's a probable case to be made that right now, and this is just the craziest thing to say, given what he can do right now, given, touch wood, the lack of projectable injury issues that he's going to have, given the immense potential he has as a playmaker, some of the passes he made tonight were just incredible. The defensive vertical and horizontal space that he covers. I think that if a team had picks 2, 3, 4, and 5 last year, you could not have traded up for number 1. I don't think there's a GM in their right mind who would take the 4 players picked after him over him alone. And that is saying a lot, because I can't think of the last draft that happened was probably LeBron. So
what about a team deciding to go for a play-in and instead of having a chance to have Victor Wembanyama? I'm talking about Masai.
Seems like a bad deal, huh? Seems like a bad decision, would you say?
Yeah, tonight was just a slap in the face in 15 directions. And the worst part is kind of just what happened with Scottie. Forget about what happened in the game. I don't know if you saw. There's a situation where he just walked out.
Yeah, 3 seconds to go.
That could blow out of proportion.
I mean, it comes down to who's going to blow it out of proportion. Are Raptor fans going to blow it out of proportion? Yeah, you can bet they will. We've gone from 2 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists being a bad game to 9, 9, and 7 being a bad game. Would you say it's trending in the right direction?
Listen, I don't care about the 3 for 15. I don't give a damn about that. I care about. I think he needs to realize, and he will in time, that the team takes the persona of the best player, and he needs to kind of like show a little bit more. Like, I never really understood in prior weeks, months, games where people were kind of complaining about his attitude and stuff like that. But tonight, like, you kind of saw it. Once he kind of like put his head down, the entire team kind of fed off of that. Would you agree with that?
No. As someone who is there, he was
Yeah,
very
you were there. So what
I
did
was
you
very
see?
I
What
was
did you
very
see
close.
like at the timeouts?
I was very close. He okay. I want to be careful with what I say because, things that I say have a tendency to get misconstrued as something that they're not. He has felt very disconnected from his teammates for the better part of 2 months. So basically, since he traded OG, I think he has just sort of been like adjusting. And that's not to say that he's not a nice guy, that he's not, friendly with his teammates, that he's, chewing them out or anything like that. He just seems to be alone on an island right now.
He needs to get out of that, though.
Yeah, but he's 22. He's
He
22
is.
years old.
He is.
And there's a a growing pain that comes with that, right? Being 22, it's tough. It's just tough. Like, I mean, being 22 in the NBA, being a first option, even in his, it's interesting. Like, you listen to the Gradey Dick presser, he doesn't seem all that enthused about leading the team in scoring, does he? No, he doesn't, because he's wired the same way Scottie is. Winning is everything, right? How do you adjust to losing for the first time in your life? Cade and Jalen Green have adjusted a long time ago. They've been losing since day one. They've never won. Jalen Green will miss the playoffs again this year. The Houston Rockets are going nowhere. Victor Wembanyama, a lot of very, very bad body language earlier too. Just to be completely fair.
He is a rookie, though.
Sure, but he's also literally been built for this. You don't understand. He is one of the most remarkably mature 20-year-olds I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's a prodigy. But honestly, you can kind of say the same with Scottie. Scottie's basically been, he's been a straight prodigy as well. He's been he's Team USA. He's all that.
So was Jalen Suggs. So was Evan Mobley. So was Cade Cunningham. Where are their championships? Where are their all-stars? Those guys were all on that team together. So was Jalen Green. Jalen Green was the prodigy in that whole draft. He was a prodigy. And last I checked, Jalen Green scored 4 points against the Raptors the other day. Where is
Scotty's just better than those guys. But my point
but
is,
he wasn't supposed to be. So my point is, why do we keep moving the goalposts with this guy? You know what I mean? Like, I listen to a person. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. Like, I observe these things because I'm very curious about how the human mind works. Listen to me. I listened to a person that I swear to God 2 years ago said Scottie Barnes would be out of the league within 6 years, can't jump, can't score, can't do this, can't do that, saying, well, maybe he'll be Pippen and maybe we have to be okay with that.
He said that? He said that?
Yes. So someone on Twitter space. So what I'm saying is how far the bar has gone from Michael Carter Williams to Scottie Pippen. The gravity of difference between those two players is like 100 times better. And he's grown that expectation, and yet it's just not enough. So it seems like everything other than top 5 player right now is going to be a failure for Scottie.
Listen,
right?
But Rob, as he gets better, the expectations change. And listen, I'm right there with you where like thinking Scottie's kind of getting, there's just a lot of people hating on him for, the prior regime. No, I'm talking about this, not come with the territory. I'm talking about people hating on him from the Fred fans and the Pascal fans. There's a bunch of people who are coming at him that, are doing it out of spite. I'm representing the people who are in the middle and who just want to see the Raptors win and don't want to see Scottie do good. And I think As he gets better, the expectations change, and he needs to do a better job. Like he point blank needs to do a better job handling like the team from a leadership perspective. And I don't really see how that can be disagreed with.
He's 22. I'm just going to say it again and again and again until you understand what I'm saying. He's 22 years old. Where is the last team he's led? You know, where is the last team where he's been expected to be the leader? I mean, there are certain things that come with the pressures of being a top 5 pick. I get it. But Patrick Williams is a top 5 pick, and no one's calling him a bust. Comes to the same program as Scottie.
People are definitely calling him a bust.
You think
you should
Patrick Williams
listen
is a bust?
You should listen to the Bulls fans. Bulls fans hate him. They actually routinely bring up the fact that Scottie and Patrick were both FSU guys, and they both were the 4th pick, and the Raptors got lucky in drafting a year later.
One.
Yeah, the right one. So yeah, they don't like him.
It's just, to me, how the bar slides, it's not rational. It would be like this. Let's say that today you think that me making $50,000 at some point in my life is ridiculous, that I'm such a bum that I can never make 50,000, right? And let's say right now I'm making 25K, right? I'm working as a barista or something. And tomorrow I say, yo, Lil John, I got a job for 70K. And you're like, yeah, but you're not a millionaire. And the next year, I'm like, yeah, I'm making $1 million a year now. You're like, yeah, but Warren Buffett's making $1 billion. You know, you set the bar high for yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's endless, right? It was the same thing. But this pressure is not assigned to everybody. By the way, this pressure was not assigned to Giannis in 3rd year. No way. Tatum, no way. 3rd year Tatum was not that. He was not better than Scottie Barnes right now. 3rd year, and he was a true, like, you know, blue blood through and through. He expected. Scottie went top 4. It was considered a reach. Need I remind you of that? Where are the people that?
Not really.
Yes, it was. Please be real. But yes, it was. He walked into the draft cycle as the projected 8th overall pick.
Yeah.
Here are the players that were projected over him: Cade, Evan Mobley, Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey at times was also projected over him. There are a lot of players, and none of those players have been better than him. So let's be real about that. He has beat out every player that everyone wanted over him at the draft. Okay, he's beat any allegations. I listened to somebody say maybe one day he'll average 20 points. I'm like, motherfucker, he's averaging 20 points right now. What are we talking about?
Someone said that, like.
One day he'll average 20 points. They said it today. Yeah, I was listening to a Twitter space. This guy named Raymond. He's just like, yeah, maybe one day he could average 20 points. I'm like, bro, he's been averaging 20 points all year.
Yeah, I know. Listen, some people don't have a clue. I will say on that Scottie point, once people got him in their facilities, he was no doubt the 4th or the 5th pick. Because OKC, Sam Presti, you know, people don't realize this. Sam Presti wanted Scottie.
Of course
he wanted him badly.
And so did Orlando. But that's the thing. Like, guess what? You know, Pat Riley wanted Chris Bosh in 2003 over Dwayne Wade. People don't want to talk about that, but it's true. It happened. I heard it at the time, and I heard it from a very credible source at the time. So, look, man, like, people are wrong. Dwayne Wade is a better player than Chris Bosh by miles, okay? People are wrong at the draft all the time. What I'm saying is the same fan base that wanted Suggs over Scottie, the same fan base that said Paolo was better than him. I mean, yo, like, he is beating out, like, okay, fine. You say he's a year younger. Fine, you know? I'm saying for most of the competitive part of this year, Scottie was a 6 boxes minus guy. That is all NBA.
Yeah, he was an all NBA level player from October to January 1st.
Yes.
But from January 1st till February 13th, I think today's February 13th, he's been like a starter.
No. He's been better than a starter.
Like a nice starter or a good starter.
That's not even true. He's been like a very, very low-level all-star.
I disagree. I disagree with that.
It doesn't matter if you disagree. The numbers would tell you otherwise. Like, the numbers say that he has been, like, as a first option. What are we talking about here? As a first option, he's been averaging like 18, 6, and 5. Like, I mean, that's like a really low-level all-star with solid defense. He's leading the entire league in distance travel. Does that matter at all?
No, that definitely matters. But the team is like 2-10.
Would you agree that maybe having like worse teammates makes your job as a first option that much harder? I mean, like you're not exactly putting like really talented scorers around him. And I don't really think like I mean, like honestly, like dead legs. I mean, there's tons of things, man. I'm just saying I don't understand the point of going through this every time he has a bad game. I don't remember this vitriol or shit that was being I don't remember this against Cleveland, where he had a 17.8 box plus minus game. I don't remember that.
Listen, I'm telling you right now.
Was he the best player against Cleveland?
He was the best player on the floor by far.
That's on a floor with Donovan Mitchell in his prime, bro. And Evan Mobley.
Now I will say Donovan, that was one of those games where
but
if you look
why?
like if you looked at someone's someone's entire stats at the end of the but at the end of the season, if you're looking at someone like their box scores and you're kind of like looking at why did he only score 15 points? Let's be honest, Donovan could have scored 35 if he wanted to. He was on cruise control, but still, as far as who played the best, Scottie was the best player on the court that night.
I have seen Scottie Barnes have quarters and games where he has outshone the best players in the league, including LeBron, including Luka, including Giannis, including Donovan Mitchell, including Steph Curry. I've seen him win these matchups. And yeah, I've seen him have games where he's literally the worst player on the court. Yeah, the variance is high.
So
but you know what?
Tonight he was a -6.
But here's the thing, though. I look for high variance in young players. Why do you think? Like, here's a question for you. You've obviously watched this channel enough. Did you ever see me waver on Gradey Dick?
No.
Exactly. I didn't waver on him when he was the worst player in the league. He literally started the season out for the first 20 games as the worst player in the league. The only player who even had a candle to hold to him is Jaden McDaniels. So my point is, that's the point. You bat on the predictable things that make people successful, right? And what makes people successful? A desire to win, physical advantages, space creation, hard work. That's it. So at the end of the day, is Gradey Dick going to have a game where he goes 0 for 9 next season? 100%. Is everyone going to overreact when he goes 0 for 9 if we lose by 15 points? Fuck yes. But why? Because you expect him to be better than 0 for 9, and apparently living and dying by on every single game is some people's idea of fun. It's not mine. I don't care. I don't I don't need to live and die on every like the Pascal Siakam 52 points. The same guy who scored 52 points in Madison Square Garden couldn't fucking score a layup against the San Antonio Spurs a year later. Explain that to me. Do you remember Pascal Siakam against the Spurs earlier this season?
Yeah, he was
benched. That's an all-NBA. That's a two-time all-NBA guy going up against the worst team in the NBA or the second worst team in the NBA at the time, and he literally missed like 12 layups. What are we talking about? Yes, and that's my point. And Scottie led a fucking comeback in his second year. So
okay, third year. Rob, I understand variance. I understand people are going to be low on him today and high on him tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Or, whether he plays well. Like, I understand that. I just think there is a body language that it's the games are starting to rack up, where it's starting to like there's a lot of evidence here, and I didn't believe that evidence before, but now I'm starting to believe in it.
Whose body language looks good to you right now?
No one.
Okay. I don't know how old you are, but I was around for
mid-20s.
You're in your 20s. Okay. Did you watch Vince?
Not at all.
Okay. So Vince Carter was often criticized for being very jokey and jovial during losses. So the team could win a lot of games and, they would lose like 3-4, or maybe he was sitting out because of an injury and he was still joking with guys, and people did not like that about him. They said that this is not good, right? I also remember, a young Kobe Bryant collecting the ire of Los Angeles Lakers media because he was 19 and he was very pissy after losses and he was very standoffish. And
Shaq hated him.
And Shaq hated him because he was just to himself. He
withdrawn. Cared too much.
Here's the thing, though. Winners don't operate on the same wavelength as everybody else. They don't. That's what makes them great. They're great because they do things like they walk off the court with 3 seconds to go. And if that continues and and no one ever grows from it, well, then that's a problem. But like I remember, like I'm just old enough to remember. I believe it was the USA team. Was it the USA? Oh yeah, I think it was the Croatian team that literally walked off the court when Serbia won. If I'm correct, or was it Serbia who walked off the court when Croatia won? Something like that. In the heat of battle, like the shit happens. But the truth is, those teams fucking cared so much. There was so much on the line, and Scottie is like, he does not like losing. There's never been a moment where I have seen him like really upbeat in a loss. I've never seen him have like 30, 10, and 10, lose a game and come out like smiles. Never.
Oh, I don't give a fuck about the walk off morally. I thought it was badass, and I thought that I mess with that. I just think ethically that's wrong. Like from a leadership.
What is the guiding line between moral and ethical? And it's like, again, like who are we? Like which leader in this world operates, like which basketball superstar operates on guidelines that you think are ethical / moral? Does LeBron? Or is LeBron like kind of fucking pissy after a loss, like where his team doesn't show up?
But
like
LeBron, Scottie's not LeBron. LeBron has had 20 plus years of greatness he can do whatever he wants.
This shit in his second year? Of course he did. Did Kobe at 19 have the pedigree of a rookie of the year? Like it's different because all the guys who did this shit like early in their careers, and I mean, of course, we're not talking about like like Magic, Bird, whatever. Like we're not. It's hard to think about those guys in that moment before they became who they became, right? But like, there's plenty of guys in NBA history that have done this shit. Plenty of guys who were like, didn't want to talk to the media after a loss. Kevin Durant's done it. Shit, Jordan's done it. Like a lot of these guys have done it because they care about winning more. That's what drives them. Like I don't think that I've ever doubted for a second that Scottie Barnes hates losing more than I hate anything. Scottie Barnes hates losing more than I probably hate selfish basketball. So what I'm saying is, for a guy to go through something for the first time, you're taking something away from this guy that means something to him, which is winning. And he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to lead right now. He doesn't know how to lead a group of locker veterans. He's gonna figure it out though. I have little doubt about that. But during that time, it's gonna be bumpy. Did Kobe not grow as a leader? Did Steph not grow? I mean, can we please remember where the fuck Steph was in his third year? Was he some vocal leader that he is today? Hell no. Hell no, he wasn't that. He was on the borderline getting traded for Monta Ellis. They were going to pick Monta Ellis over Steph Curry. Like, it's so crazy now. Like, Kyle Lowry is the perfect example of a pissy-ass teammate. He had attitude issues. People questioned his attitude. Oh my God, he's a coach killer. Coaches don't like him. McHale hates him. That's why they're shipping him out. He's pissy. He had his bags packed the entire year he came here first. He didn't talk to DeMar DeRozan for a full year. Like, that's the same fire when channeled correctly, that when it burns correctly leads to championships. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's one thing. Like yeah, sure. You might want Scottie Barnes to be Tim Duncan. He's not. He's not Tim Duncan. He's not those guys. He's like more in the Kevin Garnett sphere. Kevin Garnett punched a fucking teammate in the face. Can you imagine the vitriol from this idiotic fan base and this idiotic media space if Scottie Barnes turns around tomorrow and punches Bruce Brown in the face in a practice because he gets too heated? Can you imagine that? Like, print it out. Locker room tonight. Doug Smith breaking. Scottie Barnes punched Bruce Brown in the face for getting into his face. You remember the fucking vitriol that came out after Scottie just telling off Thad Young last year? But what they don't realize is the same guy who can fucking tell off a 34-year-old vet is the same guy who can show up in the fourth quarter against a team that you're not supposed to be competitive against, like the Bucks. So it's just like, you don't want to take away a guy's edge. You don't want to take away his personality. You don't want to take away the fire that burns him. You don't want to neuter a competitor. Because competitors are rare, man, in a fucking league where guys are just coasting to tanks. I'm sorry. Like, I look around the Detroit Pistons as they're on their verge of losing. I think like they lost like 30 straight or some shit like that, 26 straight. They just look defeated, depressed. I don't see anyone punching anybody. But it's like, is that bad? Is that bad? Like if I'm just being real. If I was on a team that lost 25 straight, I would punch somebody straight up. I would just do it just as a service to maybe this will help. You know, it's winning is hard in the NBA. That's why so many teams lose, and that's why so few teams win, and that's why there are teams out there that haven't won a championship in 50 years. Winning is hard. I just watched it with Patrick Mahomes. That dude just figured out how to win. Right? I don't know if you watched Super Bowl. I watched my first Super Bowl. I was talking about, that guy just figured it out.
Yeah, he has the blueprint.
He does. It's mentally. You could see mentally how he was talking to his teammates. It gave them belief. Will Scottie get there one day? I'm sure he will. I'm sure this guy will figure it out. Whatever is needed of him. One thing I've noticed with Scottie, whatever is needed to win, he does. This is the first time in his life that he's trying to be what they need him to be, and it's not resulting in winning. And it's probably going to fucking cause him to second guess everything about his life. And if the track record of every other time in his life that this has happened, slumps, injuries, etc., he always bounces back. That's just who he is. Last year, the whole media calling him out for work ethic issues, that didn't crater him. He just worked harder. There's certain people that just they have this incredible resilience when it comes to failure, that they just become almost like sparked by it. He needs to go through this. He needs to absorb it. He needs to live in it. He needs to accept that this is happening. He needs to accept that it partially is on him. It definitely isn't all on him, but he is part of it. He is a part of this losing culture. He needs to accept that if he doesn't want to be part of losing culture in the future, that he's going to have to be better. He's going to get that much better. And this is going to force him to grow in uncomfortable ways. Uncomfortable ways like maybe when your team is not going, you have to score 14 points in the first quarter just to keep you in it. This is something that Brian's been working on with him on for years. And it's got to come. At some point, it's going to come. I think he's talented enough, smart enough to figure this out. I trust that he will always do the work to win, one way or another. Yeah, I trust him.
So Rob, all right, moving on from Scottie, I don't know if you remember some of my viewpoints. Like I've talked to you a couple times about how I think I don't really realize how Darko is getting all this heat.
Sure.
I'm like on the verge of doing a complete 180 after tonight. There is a lack of accountability on this team. Like, if Ime Udoka was coaching this team, would he not chew into Gary Trent with some of the stuff he does?
Yes.
The transition layups, like, has he not realized he's not good at that? Like,
do you see this? Do you see this that I'm flashing on the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I called for it. I called for Ime. Wait, how early did I call for it? Look at that. Ime Udoka solves everything for Toronto. I wanted Ime Udoka so bad on this team because I thought that he was the perfect voice to lead this locker room. And I trust that he would have been better than Darko, in my opinion. But better, different. Yeah,
different. That's the key word, because Darko might have done a lot for Scottie's game, his shooting, his all this stuff. But I'm pretty sure Udoka could have done a lot for Scottie mentally. And that's just unfortunate that we don't have that, because I think the mental game is way more important than the skill wise, because the skill was going to come if you work on it, right?
I don't think the skill and the entire upheaval and like the reconstruction of how your team orients its offense, like look at Gradey talking about trust and building the trust of getting the ball back. Like, you have to do it brick by brick. Have you ever seen a house being built?
Yeah.
Does it look like a house for the first 2 years? No. It just looks like poles in the ground, and it looks like shit. And then it looks like a bunch of like wood panels. And then, you look, and then there's some windows in the wood panels, and then there's like some construction, and then it's like a big box without a roof. And then one day you look and it's a beautiful house. And it's like at no point during that building of that house for 2 years could that house have stopped rain. Not once, not ever could it have stopped rain without a tarp. Eventually it gets a roof, eventually it gets some bricks, you get some insulation, you get some wiring, You get some floors down, and you can sleep in that house. My point is, Ime Udoka may have been the right person to boost people's swagger, confidence, compete level. I don't know if he would have been the right person tactically to boost people's skill level. And the truth is, there is a skill deficit on this team across the board. There is a talent and skill deficit, and you need guys with a proven track record of actually making players better, not more dogged, but better. You can get the dog shit later. Darko is not here forever. I'm sure at some point he will be relieved of his duties if things don't work out. And at that point, you can go and get your Ime Udoka. You can get your motivator, your taskmaster, your whatever. But at this point, you are in the development stage. You are in the development stage of the life cycle of the Raptors. You have a lot of young players that need to get better. You need to know your own intel. Like, your scouts have found these players, Scottie, Gradey, etc., IQ. All of these guys have been handpicked by this scouting department at various stages as having a chance to be something. What you need is a coach who can really get the building blocks of, like, look at what Dwayne Casey did. Like, seriously, look at it. I know you said you're in your 20s, but you must remember Dwayne Casey.
I'm 24.
The tactical discrepancy between that dude and every coach he coached against was ridiculous. Like,
he was terrible. He was fucking terrible.
But he wasn't, and that's the point. I didn't like him. I didn't like him.
He was terrible.
Well, that's the thing. He wasn't. He was successful. In some cases, he is the most successful coach in Raptors history. Very, very, very
From a
hard
win
to make.
Percentage standpoint, sure.
Absolutely. But isn't that what you built the championship on? It's
Rob,
very easy to credit. But let me tell you something. Who developed? Dude, Pascal Siakam developed under that guy. DeMar DeRozan developed under that guy. Kyle Lowry matured into a leader under that guy. Norman Powell developed under that guy. Jonas Valanciunas developed under that guy. DeLon Wright. Nobody fucking didn't develop under Dwayne Casey. He found a way, right? Now, it didn't work in Detroit, so you can say maybe there was other factors. Of course, you had Nick Nurse as an assistant. You had Jama Malalela. You had Patrick Mutombo. You had a ton of things going right for you. You had Kyle and DeMar. But who the fuck were Kyle and DeMar? They were guys who were about to get traded in 2013 for a bag of peanuts. Okay? So it's like, there's a logical fallacy in almost every argument that people make against Darko, against Scottie, against Masai, against Bobby, which is, they ignore what it used to look like in the past and they go directly to what it is and what it was. Like, you're comparing what might not become versus what already became. And that's the thing. What became didn't look like what it was going to become. If I told you in 2015 that somehow within 4 years this is going to result into a championship, like after you got blown out by the Wizards and swept by the Wizards, people would have been like, you're fucking crazy. There's no chance at championship. Look at Boston, look at Philly, look at this team, look at that team. We don't have a superstar. But it's like you play the patience game long enough and you get it, right? Now, I'm not saying this is going to result in a championship over the next 3 years. It probably won't. I mean, I don't care about championships. I care about 7 years of a chance at a championship. I've always maintained that. I want 7-year window. And you need to get these guys developed so you can start that window. And at that point, we can talk about coaching adjustments and, whether you need, a coach who can, get them to compete every night. But it's like right now you're laying the bricks. You're not even laying the bricks. You're fucking laying like the foundation. Like you are in the digging a moat, or like you're in like the land surveying, dig the ground out so you can fucking put the tent poles of this house down. You're nowhere near it. So I think we lost him. My bad. He did say he had to go to sleep, so I apologize if I rambled on a little bit there. I'm going to preach patience. I'm going to preach patience, just like last year. I preached tear it down. Okay, tank. I'm going through these because it is like really, really just a history of bad decisions, I guess. Look at that. The Raptors are about to make a huge mistake. You want to see the exact moment that I found out?
trust the guy.
Pascal, that's the narrative from everybody. Well, I don't really see Pascal buying in on defense, but it's where is that opt out? So there's no version in hell in which you're going to be able to go up to these guys and be like, yeah, by the way, can we just sit you guys for 5-6 games because it's
So, Kate.
I just want to find it.
Force. I got
1 to 3 draft picks from 2023 to 2029. Waste this many roster spots on middling talent.
Right.
It's all middling talent, right? I think. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Top down, their management. Cam Birch, a protected 2024 first round. There we go. Like, how much would that change his offseason work? How much would that change the now I really want credit for being the first person to bring up that fucking Jakob Poeltl pick. Shit. Cam Birch, a protected twins. Like, how much would that change his offseason work? How much would that change the Raptors' theories about him? Because right now, like, we're all banking on him being an all-star. Find out. What if he flashes, 30 points per game in a playoff series for you?
Right.
That completely changes everything for next year. And it also changes the trajectory of whether or not Kevin Durant wants to come here. Well, now suddenly he wants to come play with a 21-year-old who's averaging 30 points per game in a playoff
Breaking Jakob.
I think, yeah. Okay, so I went first with Kyle Lowry. Who's a player who's definitely getting traded?
Do you want to stay away from like the Raptors?
Oh no, it broke.
What?
Oh no.
What?
Oh no.
Uh-oh. What?
The Toronto Raptors have traded for Jakob Poeltl for Cam Birch, a protected 2024 first-round pick, and 2 future second-round picks.
Wait, sorry. What did they give up? Cam Birch?
A protected 2024 first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks, sources tell ESPN. Oh, my God. Now I really want credit for being the first person to bring up that fucking Jakob Poeltl pick. Shit.
To what end? Like, are they reuniting
Just so we know
skills?
where we stood. Okay?
Crazy. This entire community was behind it. This entire community said that was a stupid move. And now I get to listen to a whole bunch of reporters who swore up and down that it was a good move back then. Nobody was critical of it. I swear to God, the Raptors finally have a center. And now they get to be like, in hindsight, do we really think that trading for Jakob Poeltl was a really good move? You assholes. Stand on your fucking points. That's my point. Just stand on it. Just stand on it. I very confidently said that Scoot Henderson was going to be better than Brandon Miller. Very confidently. I own that L right now. I have to own it. Right? I very confidently said that Jabari Smith was going to be better than Paolo Banchero. That Chet Holmgren was going to be better than Paolo Banchero. 1 for 2 ain't bad. But seriously, I need to own it. Right? I confidently said that Jordan Hawkins was, like the pick that I would have wanted at 13 and probably and definitely the player I would have picked. Yeah. And, like an hour later, I was just like softening up on that. And yeah, I've been very firm on Gradey. And if Gradey ends up being a bust, I have to own that I was wrong. So you know what? I'm just saying, like, we just need to get out of a fucking place where we just get to forget everything that we said and just live by the day. The same people telling you right now that Scottie Barnes will not be a franchise player were the same people telling you that he was never going to be a starter. The same people telling you right now that he's not going to average 28 points were the same people telling you he wasn't going to crack 15. They don't remember their old takes. Difference is, I'm like an elephant. I do. Okay? So, Danish saying Scoot can still become better than Miller. Yes, he could. Yes, he could. Exactly. He could. I feel less confident in my Brandon Miller slander than I did at the draft. I also said Walker Kessler was a dumb pick. You know what I mean? Like, we all get shit wrong. but like I take my L's very seriously because, you know, I don't obsess over them. It's not like, you know, I wake up in a cold sweat every single night being like, how could I be wrong about Walker Kessler? No, but I take those L's seriously because I need to learn, why was I wrong? I need to evaluate, what did I miss? How did I miss it? I don't get to lie about it. I don't get to like just pretend it never happened. I tell you right now, if the Raptors had traded for Jakob Poeltl and literally, you know, became like a second round playoff team, I would have to own it that I was wrong. You know, right now I feel pretty right though. Straight up. Dude, even if we had tanked for like 7th or 8th, you probably end up with Case and Wallace and you know what? Maybe Gradey ends up being better than Case and Wallace and Bilal Coulibaly, and the Raptors look like geniuses because they picked the 3rd, 4th best player in the draft. Highly unlikely. Possible though. It's possible. Everything is possible until it's not. So we'll see. In terms of just my reflections on the game, it was very interesting seeing Victor Wembanyama up close. He is a person that I respect very, very much because he is about all the right shit when it comes to basketball. He's about doing his work. He is about elevating his teammates. He is about winning at all costs. He is not about personal glory. He is not about his own stats. Danish saying, where's Rob though? Are you his brother, cousin? It's me. It's me. I just shaved. Thanks a lot for the super chat. I appreciate it. That's funny. Okay. Take a quick look at Gradey's ascending numbers and we'll call it a night on that. It's 2 hours. So Zigsaw Puzzle saying if Gradey ends up the 3rd or 4th best player from the draft, we'd be contenders. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, like you didn't draft him 13th overall to be a role player, right? You drafted him to be, you know, they think an all-star. Hang on. Let me show you something real quick. He was very, very like upset about this apparently. Now, here's the thing. When you jump to a conclusion about that, do you know that he wasn't going back to get something taped up? He's limping a little bit. Do we know? Do you know what I mean? She-Wolf saying, did Wemby look 7'4" in person? He looks at least 7'6" to me. You know what? He has a really small head. So he has the head of a normal sized human being and the body of a giant. So even though he is probably 7'4", 7'5", he kind of looks like he might be 8 feet tall. Like he looks 8 feet tall. In person, he looks like he's like Manute Bol size plus. And Manute was like 7'7", I think. 7'6"? How tall was Manute Bol? 7'7"? So yeah. Yeah, man. Like, I mean, whatever. Okay, let's check out Gradey's advanced box score for a second. Okay, so check this out. Gradey's been awesome recently. So in terms of his games, right there it turned around. I mean, you could say it turned around right there. So those 2 games, Miami and New York back-to-back, 21.5 boxes minus, 10.2 boxes minus. And then look at this string of positive performances that he put together against OKC, New Orleans, and Charlotte. Those are good teams. Like 2 of those are really good teams. And yeah, sure, 2 of those were losses as well. But he is playing better and better and better. And look at his true shooting percentage. Like it's just going up 75%, 60%, 150%, which is awesome. 68%. Again, he's incredible. He had 1 stinker, which was against Houston and that big blowout loss. And then he had another stinker against Memphis. Number says, read my next comment. Doesn't fit is it an issue? Oh, I understand what you're saying. How can Jakob not be able to at least box out Wemby? He looks outmatched against almost every center they play. I wouldn't say he's outmatched necessarily, but I think Victor Wembanyama is a very strange player to play against. You don't have a lot of practice playing against players of that length. I don't know if you mean offensively or defensively outmatched, but clearly, like when a guy has like an 8+ foot standing, like he has an 8-foot wingspan. Right? That's just madness, in a nutshell. I've studied like some tape of him like slowed down when he was in Europe, and I was just like, man, like some of the stuff that this guy can do, it's like he picked Emmanuel quickly. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be able to do that. It's just not normal. It's very uncomfortable. It's going to take the league a really long time to adjust to him. The Raptors have played against him once. I don't know how many times Emmanuel Quickley's played against him. This might have been his first time. Certainly his first time playing against him as like a primary ball handler. And yeah, Emmanuel Quickley is a really, really tight handle guy. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Yeah. Anyways, take a look at this advanced box score from last game. Again, the one for this game isn't posted on Basketball Reference yet. So I wasn't kidding when I said Scottie was the best player on the court. He was. That's a 17.6 plus minus for Scottie. And then you had +9 from Kelly, and then +2 from Gradey. Again, to those who insist on not understanding what box plus minus is, it's not plus minus. It's not the box score plus minus. It's box plus minus. It's different. In terms of like Kelly Olynyk, I think the previous caller, Lil John, who got disconnected, said, he would rather have that OKC pick than Kelly Olynyk. And I think the trade is a win for the Raptors. I think if Ochai Agbaji turns into 80% of what I think he can be, it's a major win. But if he turns into 50% of what I think he can be, it's still a win. Kelly Olynyk is a serviceable guy. You have his bird rights now. Unlike last year where you traded like multiple picks to get Jakob Poeltl, and one of those picks ends up being high, and then, like all that stuff. The context around this trade is completely different. It's a completely different draft. It's not a good draft. You already have a boatload of picks. As I explained to the earlier caller, like at some point having more might be less, because if you want to move out of that, you don't want to be forced to take players. And with the first round pick, I don't believe you have the luxury of being able to convert it to a 2-way contract, right? There's like a guaranteed salary that comes the first round pick. And maybe, just maybe, you look at a player, maybe you're targeting a player, maybe or a set of players in the range of 26 to 33, right? And you think you can just get that player now on a 2-way with a second round contract, right? Or maybe it's not a 2-way because that would be not in your favor. But again, with the second round contracts, you do have some flexibility in terms of how you can go. I do want to say that typically it has been customary for early second round picks like 30, 31, 32, 33 to be treated more like late firsts anyway. But it does offer you that flexibility just in case you want to convert it into a 2-way, in case you're like not super high on the player, or et cetera. So, John Wheaton saying if Spurs drafted Scoot, I'm sorry, who are these nephews? I don't think I saw a single person say Scoot over Wemby, dude. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to accuse you of, inventing something, but I don't think I saw it. Scoot over Wemby? Shit. Like you have to be real delusional to go that route. That's crazy. Anyways, I want to say thank you to everyone who stuck up the live late. I think given the considerable toxicity around, this game, Twitter, Reddit, etc., I think I maintained my composure pretty well. A banhammer came out a couple of times tonight, but yeah, I think overall this is a process. Someone asked me today, like, how long do you think until the Raptors will be good again? I said, give it 12 months. That's literally how fast I think this will happen. I think they'll go from being, bad enough to lose to the Pistons and the Spurs to probably good enough to be competitive on every single night. And at that point, you can talk about defensive coordinators, you can talk about veterans, you can talk about, winning every single game. At this point, I think I'm looking at the calculus around for like, a Jakob Poeltl or a Bruce Brown or even a Scottie Barnes. And I'm wondering which one of these players actually believes that this team has a chance right now. And at some point, the math is just speaking for you, right? You lose so many games. If right now we could wipe the slate clean and everyone starts 0-0 and there's like 30 games to go, I'm sure you would see a renewed sense of focus from this team. At some point, though, it takes a very exceptional group to climb out of a rut the way the Raptors have built themselves into. Credit to Kyle and DeMar. Desperation sometimes can be the mother of, found motivation, right? They were desperate to, salvage something so that they wouldn't get traded or whatever when they started We the North. We're here, might as well make it good. They were also much further along in their careers. Please understand that. When they were asked to lead this team, when Rudy Gay was traded, DeMar was 23. I want to say Kyle was 27. Or DeMar was 24. Like, how old was DeMar at the start of We the North? Let's see. He was drafted at the age of 19 in 2009. So yeah, I was 23, and I think Kyle was 27. So 23 and 27 is a far cry from 22 and 23, which is what Scottie and RJ are right now, or 22 and 24. If the same thing happened 2 years ago or 2 years later, maybe those guys could lead, But right now, you've taken the kid gloves off. You've traded Pascal. You've traded for, you've lost Fred. You've traded Dennis for nothing. Certainly, that is not a move that edges you in the favor. You waived Spencer Dinwiddie. That is not a move that edges you towards shot making. Could a Spencer Dinwiddie have done something tonight for you? Probably. Watch him go off in the playoffs for at least a couple games. So I'm just saying, clearly winning is not the primary focus right now. Development is the primary focus. It's not going to be pretty every night. But as I said to Lil John, a house doesn't look like a house until it's a house. This I agree with 100%. The issue right now is not that you've rebuilt. The issue is you took too long, and you've missed like a valuable year of potentially developing Scottie in a role. Like, what valuable development reps has he had? Like, what is he doing right now on the NBA court that even resembles closely to what he's done in the last 3 years or 2 years with this team? His role is completely different. You think it's just simple to just completely flip yourself from being a fourth, fifth option, standing in a corner, setting screens and diving to the basket, and being a point guard, first option, scoring option, getting double teamed? It's a completely different game. We've seen what he can do as the second best player on the team, or the second option. He was the best player on the team regardless, but he was better than Pascal largely because he was making his shots and Pascal was missing his shots. And because he was impacting defense and and Pascal wasn't. But in terms of that 1A, 1B, tier that they were on earlier, that's probably the best situation for him. So right now, if you put a guy like Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan or Julius Randle or any middling, all-star level offensive player who doesn't really play defense on the team with him, he goes right back to 1B or 2, and he's beasting again. Attacking empty side, doing a lot of the RJ stuff. He's so much better at RJ stuff than RJ right now, right? But right now, he's got to be the one. He's got to be the guy. A lot of people say, yeah, but can you develop that? Well, the question is, did Giannis? Did Kawhi? Did Jokic? Look at NBA history. It's littered with guys who took jumps in year 3, year 4, year 5, and they were not expected. So I'll say this, Shea in year 2, year 3 was not expected to be a top 5 player. No one in the world would have said he was going to be a top 5 player. at that time. That would have been crazy. Not everyone's Luka and LeBron. Some people grow at different cases. I would urge you to be a little bit more patient with Scottie. I feel like this has been a 2 hour and 14 minutes of me just saying, just be patient. But at least it's stuck true to the thumbnail. Yeah. Anyway, have a great night, y'all. I am back to pen dance planning. Got like a lot of great films coming up. I am very excited. Just finished all of the DCPs, digital cinema packages. Going to get them to the cinema tomorrow. Get to see some of these films on screen, which would be cool. Here's the promo, and I'm out. Word from our sponsor. The Pen Dance Film Festival is happening February 22nd to 25th. It is a celebration of international films. It is a brilliant film festival in its 7th season. Prior to the COVID pandemic, it was the fastest growing film festival in the world. What is my affiliation with Pen Dance? What are they paying me to say this? Well, I am Pen Dance. I'm the festival director and founder of Pen Dance. It is my baby. And if you love great films, if you have a film lover in your life, this is a worthwhile event for you, happening in downtown Toronto at the Carlton Cinema. February 22nd to 25th. Make sure to check us out. Link is in the description below for tickets and passes. Tickets will go on sale soon. Passes are already on sale. Let's get to this. I don't know if I added the link, but it is pendancefilmfestival.com.ca. My bad. Canadianfans.ca. .com will lead you to .ca as well. But yes, tickets are going off. It's been good. See ya.